Hey guys, welcome back to a new video by Biology with Zhang Shen. So today we are going to do the 0610/43 May-June 2023 Paper 4 Theory Extended. So the link of this paper will be in the description box below and make sure you check it out. So let's start solving this paper. Alright, let's go to question 1. The movement of molecule within an organism can occur by diffusion and active transport. Complete table 1.1 placing ticks to show the correct features of each process. So movement of particles always occur across a membrane is active transport. Movement of molecules during gas exchange is diffusion. Rate of movement of particle is higher when the concentration gradient is larger. It's also diffusion because of higher to lower and requires energy from respiration is active transport. So diffusion is because it's a gas. Make sure you remember this. This is a gas form and movement of particles always occur on the cell membrane. Diffusion doesn't across the cell membrane. Okay. Part B. Explain why active transport is important in root hair cells. So the importance of active transport is so that the mineral ions can be absorbed, which it moves against the concentration gradient. So one example of this is magnesium or nitrate ions. So this question is technically asking you for why is active transport so important, and in the end, what is the definition of active transport? Going against the concentration gradient. Okay. Question 2. Transpiration is the loss of water vapor from the leaves of the plant. Complete the sentence describing transpiration. So water evaporates from the surface of the mesophyll cells into the air spaces and then diffuses out of the leaves through the stomata as water vapor. Technically, this is the definition of transpiration. Question 2, part B. Explain how water moves upwards in the xylem. So the water moves upwards by a transpiration pool. So this is the keyword that once you've written this keyword out, you get 1 mark immediately, where it creates a column of water which is held by the cohesion of water molecules between the tube of the xylem. So it's basically like how it looks like. It's like this. Okay, this example, and then there's a leaf, right? So imagine this is the xylem inside here. So the water molecule goes up, goes in the upward direction, and then some of it is actually sticking on the side of the xylem, which allows a continuous stream of water. Okay, all right. Question 2, part C. A student investigated the effect of wind speed on the rate of transpiration in the small Pachira aquatica tree. They measured the rate of transpiration when the plant was placed in different wind speeds in both light and the dark. The tree was given an adequate supply of water. The results of this investigation are shown in figure 2.1. Okay, question 2C, part 1. Describe and explain the results shown in figure 2.1. So since this is a 4-mark question, you just have to explain what is 2 marks for describing, or 2 marks in explanation, or 1 mark in describing and 3 marks in explaining. So either way it works. So from the results, as the wind speed increases, the rate of transpiration increases in both conditions, meaning both light and dark. So this itself is 1 or 2 marks. This is because the water vapor from outside of the leaf is removed faster because wind is carrying the water molecules out of the leaf, making the stomata open wider to allow more gas exchange. Okay, so you have to understand what is this, then you have to explain why does it occur. All right. Part 2. The investigation was repeated in the light with the same species of tree in an environment where the humidity was higher. Draw a line on figure 2.1 to predict the results in the light with increased humidity. So this is just the original line. So when it's increased humidity, it will be below this line. It will be below this one, which is this. Okay. Part 3. The investigation described in 2C was repeated with different wind speeds in both the light and the dark. However, the tree was not given an adequate supply of water during the investigation. Predict the result and explain your prediction. So 2 marks for this, 2 marks for explanation. So the prediction of this result is that there will be a lower rate of transpiration at all wind speeds. This is because there's little water being absorbed and it moves from the cells by osmosis, making the stomata close tightly. Okay, 4 marks. So this question is actually quite tricky because you have to be really familiar with transpiration and also the factors affecting transpiration, and how are you going to explain the process of all of these processes going at the same time. Okay, question 3, sorry. Figure 3.1 is a diagram of a section through a human heart. Part A asks, draw an X on the septum in figure 3.1, which is just here. It's the middle of the heart, which separates oxygenated blood and deoxygenated blood. Part B, explain the reasons for the difference between the thickness of wall at B and at C in figure 3.1. So B is the left ventricle and C is the right ventricle. So if you can see the visual differences, you can see that in B, the left ventricle, there is a larger muscular wall. So how do you explain it is that the left ventricle have more muscular tissue, which allows it to pump blood at a much higher pressure. Okay, that's how you get your 2 marks. Part C. Okay, this is a tricky question. A red blood cells enters the vena cava at A in figure 3.1. Explain how the red blood cell is moved from the vena cava to the aorta. Okay, what does this mean is that when you say about vena cava, we always think is the right atrium. Okay, just think of it as the right atrium. And then to the aorta is usually the left atrium. Okay, if you always confused in how to start this question, I would usually draw a diagram. What kind of diagram? Is just basically a simple sketch of the heart. Okay, where this one, you draw this one, which is the lungs. And this is the body. Okay, so what happens is that the lung transport the blood, goes here, and then it goes inside here, and then it leaves to the body, it goes away to the heart through the arteries, and then it goes back to the right atrium, and then it goes down, then it goes back to the lungs. So now what they want to do is that they want the right atrium to go to the left atrium. So the process is that it's going to go down, then using the pulmonary circuit, then using the pulmonary circuit to the aorta. Alright, so the red blood cell, basically is blood in a way, okay, is moved from the vena cava to the right atrium. Okay, vena cava is basically the vein lah. Okay, so then from the right atrium to the right ventricle, you can see it's going down, which is the right ventricle. Okay, when the right atrium contracts, so basically is that when the right atrium contracts, it allows the blood to enter the right ventricle through the semilunar valves. Then afterwards, it goes out of the right ventricle into the pulmonary artery. So this is the pulmonary artery. This is going back to the lungs as the right ventricle contracts. This allows the blood to enter the pulmonary vein, which is the newly oxygenated blood from our body, and into the left atrium. Okay, the atrioventricular valve is closed when, of course, the blood entering into the left atrium is to prevent the backflow of blood. Alright, that's pretty much 6 marks. So you basically have to draw this diagram. Then only you can roughly realize that, oh, this is how you know that the blood is traveling. It will give you a clear explanation to literally to solve this question. Alright, part D. An athlete measured her heart rate during a running race. She recorded it before the race, during the race, and during her recovery. Her results are shown in figure 3.2. Part 1 suggests how the athlete could monitor the activity of the heart. So there are lots of answers to this. This is just 1 mark. I would say using ECG or do pulse racer. Alright, so that's pretty much the most basic thing that we learned from the syllabus. Part 2. Calculate the percentage change in heart rate from the maximum heart rate reached during the race until the heart rate recorded at 18 minutes. So this is the maximum heart rate, this one, and this is 18 minutes. So it's 180 and 92. So percentage change is, again, whether it's a positive or negative depending on the trend. So from here, right, 180 to 92 is a decrease in percentage change, therefore it will be a negative symbol in front. So 92 minus 180 over 180 times by 100, you get minus 48.888. Since they want 3 significant figures, change it to minus 48.9%. 3 marks. Alright. Part 3. Explain why the heart rate must increase during exercise. So this is again a very common past paper question, but you really need to get this correct. So the heart rate must increase so more blood can enter the muscles, where oxygen is provided for aerobic respiration to help release energy. This itself is already 3 marks. Okay? Then it also helps to transport lactic acid to the liver when the body is recovering. So because lactic acid is toxic. Alright. Question 4a. Urea is a waste product, so this is excretion in humans. Part 1. Describe how urea is formed. Urea is formed by process of deamination, 1 mark, in the liver, 1 mark. Because they never mention the organ, so you have to mention it, where it removes the nitrogen containing part in the amino acid, 1 mark. That's how you get your 3 marks. So basically what is this asking you is that, what is deamination? That's your answer. Okay. Part 2. State the component of blood that transport urea. Plasma. Remember, component of blood means like, because in our blood we have different kinds of like components inside. So there's red blood cells, white blood cells, plasma, and platelets. And we know that plasma carries mostly water. So when it's urea, it's also part of it because it's a liquid substance. Part 3. State why urea must be excreted. Very simple, because urea is toxic in our body. Part 4. State the name of the blood vessel that carries blood away from the kidney. So this is a trick here. It's not blood away from the heart, but carry blood away from the kidney. So it's going back to the heart. So it's back to the heart. So the only vein is renal vein. So renal is a keyword for a vein inside the vessels in the kidney. Okay. Part B. Figure 4.1 shows a drawing of the nephron, okay, in the human kidney and associated blood vessels. Describe how the structures labeled in figure 4.1 produces urine. So I think this is just again very simple. It's from the start how the urea enters and then how it's going to form urine out. So it first begins in the glomerulus, where it's K, and where the ultrafiltration of blood starts. The water, glucose, urea, which are excess, enters the nephron. The nephron will be inside here lah. Alright. It is then reabsorbing all glucose, which is at L, which is usually, I think this is the loop of Henle. Then sometimes there's a selective reabsorption of water or ions when the body needs it. Alright. Then the urine will flow through N, which is the collecting duct. 4 marks. Okay, just basically explain literally from here 1, 2, and 3 to 4. That's all. Alright. C. Urea can be used as a fertilizer as it is a source of nitrogen. To explain the importance of nitrogen ions to plants, to act as protein for the growth of plants, or to make amino acid. You can say to make amino acids. Part D. A farmer applied fertilizers to a field next to a lake. Suggest 2 precautions the farmer should take when applying fertilizer to reduce the risk of eutrophication occurring in the lake. So we don't really emphasize this in the syllabus, but it's common sense. So since we know that eutrophication can leach into rivers, how are you going to control this? Is by using lesser amount of fertilizers and apply it before rain starts, because when rain begins, you never know there's a flooding. When flooding happens, there'll be a lot of leaching of these fertilizers into the lake. Okay. Question 5, Part A. Describe the role of progesterone in pregnancy. So progesterone is basically the last hormone inside the cycle, where in the estrogen and progesterone cycle, estrogen is at peak at 14 days, and then progesterone is the remaining 14 days. So this is the day 14 and this is day 28. So progesterone is this one. Okay. So the role of progesterone in pregnancy is to prevent menstruation, because during pregnancy we don't want to have menstruation to happen. It also helps to maintain the lining of the uterus because it has been thickened already, and to stop the secretion of FSH and LH. Part B. Figure 5.1 shows the drawing of the section of a human placenta. The arrow shows the direction of blood flow. So just have a look at it. It's not to scale. Substances move across the placenta by diffusion. Alright, we know that. Part 1. State the names of two useful substances that move from the blood to the mother to the blood of the fetus. Very simple. Oxygen, amino acids, because blood of the mother to the blood of the fetus. So it's from mother to fetus. So it all have to be things that is useful for the baby's development, which is oxygen and amino acids. Okay, there's also more, could be glucose, could be salts, everything. All right. Part 2. Using the information in figure 5.1 suggests how placenta is adapted for efficient diffusion. All right, this one, right, it's a bit tricky because remember in diffusion, right, we learned about factors affecting diffusion, which is the surface area, the temperature, the concentration gradient, and the distance. So when the placenta is adapted, it means that it has a large surface area. When there's a large surface area, you can see it looks very wide. You can see like these loops, right? It's constant. And this kind of structure reminds me of the lungs near the alveoli being an efficient gas exchange surface. So same thing is that when it has a larger surface area, there will be a shorter diffusion distance. It doesn't have to travel very long. So once this is has a short diffusion distance, it will have a maintained concentration gradient, and it will have good blood supply at the same time. Alright, part C. The rhesus RH factor is a protein found on the surface of red blood cells in some people. If the protein is present, then the individual is RH positive. The allele for the presence of the RH factor is dominant and is represented by the letter D. The recessive allele is presented by the letter smaller d. If a mother is RH negative and the fetus is RH positive, there can be problems during pregnancy. A RH negative mother and a heterozygous RH positive father have a child. Complete the Punnett square and determine the probability of the child being RH positive. So Punnett square, big D, small d, small d, small d. So you get 50%. So the probability is 50%, or you can put 1/2 or 0.5 as your answer. Okay, question 6, part A, figure 6.1 shows the percentage of land covered by forests in the country from 1660 until 2000. So part 1, using the information in figure 6.1, state the 10-year period had the highest increase in the percentage of land covered by the forest. So from here to up will be 1950. Alright, 1950s lah, means there's a sharp increase lah from 1950 and after that is going up. Okay, part 2, outline the how human activities could cause the change in the percentage of land covered by forest from 1660 to 1800 shown in figure 6.1. So this are human activities which can be caused by pollution, climate change. Why climate change can be into it? Because sometimes there could be forest fire which can decrease the percentage of change in land mass and spaces for housing or agriculture. Okay, part B. It is estimated that 40% of plant species are at risk of extinction. Seed banks can store seeds for many species for a long time. Table 6.1 shows some information about one plant species that is stored in a seed bank. Part 1, using the data shown in table 6.1, calculate the mass of protein in one seed. So just use simple maths, you will get your answer of 0.2156, or you get 0.22 or 0.216. That's acceptable. Part 2, suggests why many plants can easily be conserved using seed banks. Because the seeds are small in size, they are not big, so which can be very easy to be collected inside seed banks. 2 marks only. Okay. Part 3, describe why conservation projects such as seed banks are important. So seed banks are important because it can increase the biodiversity, which is a key factor to reduce extinction of plant species. It is also effective to protect a vulnerable ecosystem by supporting crop plants, medicinal plants, or scientists to be able to do future research or create data reports. So 5 marks. Just basically why we have to keep protect our species like that through seeds. So because seeds, once they are kept well, they can be used again when particular species has been vulnerable, and we can actually help to regrow them. All right. Question 7, part A. State the name of a chemical element that's found in all proteins but not in carbohydrates or fats. So in carbohydrate or fats, we only have CHO, but in protein, we have CHO and N. So nitrogen is the chemical element that is found in proteins. B. Table 7.1 shows the name of some biological molecules, enzymes, and the organs that produce the enzyme. Complete table 7.1. So this is very, very easy to get marks. Do not literally waste this. So products of the breakdown of the large biological molecule means initially what is the after it's being broken down, the products after it's being breaking down. So fatty acids and glycerol, and the enzyme is lipase, and the glycogen is from glucose, and the starch is from the salivary glands or the pancreas, but only lists one organ since they say that. And protein is the products are amino acids, and the enzyme only one enzyme, which are protease or pepsin. Okay, part C. State 2 hormones that can affect the concentration of glycogen in the liver. So this is not thermoregulation. I mean, it's kind of like homeostasis a bit. So insulin, glucagon, or maybe adrenaline. Why adrenaline? Is because when you have an adrenaline rush, there will be an increase in the glucose concentration, blood glucose concentration. Okay, that's all for this paper. So this paper, I think it's difficult for me. I think it will be part 2, question 2, because it's asking for transpiration, which not many of us would actually read this thoroughly. So I think that will be the difficult one, but others are fine. Those small marks is easy to get. So I hope you enjoy this video. See you guys in the next video. Bye bye.